Let's settle in. We're talking about the I am today. One of the subjects today is the I am. So here's a classic Unity I am song. This is one of those ones that is dangerous because it's hard to get it out of your mind. Settle in and relax. Let's settle into right here and right now. So many things going on. And we pause. We pause to come together in a spirit as a spiritual community. We pause to come together with the presence of infinite love and wisdom within us. Come together with each other, opening our minds and our hearts. Yeah. And so in this centeredness, classic unity affirmation, I am centered and poised. That's an appropriate song for today because we're starting a series on the Wizard of Oz and a rainbow song kind of honoring people that are celebrating Pride Month. And I wanted to share this photo that I took on Hilton Head Beach. You might not notice, but at the bottom of that rainbow is a person and the reflection of the rainbow coming up. So we don't have to go far to get the wonder of spirit. So we've come together from many places with many things going on. We come together into one presence and one power. We come together with churches everywhere, all spiritual traditions everywhere, temples, stupas, mosques, every denomination, because there's only one presence and one power that manifests in a multitude of ways. And we honor all of the paths into that oneness. And we celebrate this community that we are. Let's declare this statement about ourselves. We are Chesterland Unity, a loving community, deepening connections with God, ourselves, and all others. God is love. Our race is human. Our faith is oneness. A lot of things going on this weekend, a lot of celebrations. Today's one of the 2 days of the year that the sun rises between a couple pillars at Stonehenge. And in many other sacred circles, the longest day of the year, many people in the nature-based religion, we join with them, an open heart, celebrating the wonder that is life on earth. We also remember a couple of days ago, Juneteenth is still being celebrated this weekend. Important celebration in our country's history. And it's also Father's Day. It's one of my favorite father's pictures because Joseph doesn't get any due. You see a lot of Madonnas. There's one up there. There's one here. You never see a picture of Joseph. Okay? The father is an important element in our culture. So here he is leading them through Egypt in Christmas. Father God, a scary old dude in the Old Testament. He was nasty, jealous, vindictive, very strict about the law. And so we wonder, how important is that? Well, in human development, discipline and boundaries are important for children as they grow up. without boundaries and discipline, they'll be all over the place. Well, boundaries and discipline are not real popular in parenting right now. But let the children follow their own impulses, their own inner guidance. Well, without discipline, without boundaries or development is stunted. So we need discipline, boundaries. We need the law, and we need to go beyond the law. Jesus was accused of not following the law, of going beyond the law. He said that he didn't come to get rid of the law. He came to fulfill the law. He's saying that the law, all the rules of traditional Judaism, created an atmosphere in which something wonderful could grow and bloom, that could be fulfilled. And the writers of the gospel said that was Jesus, that without the law, you would not have grace. Still have rules, rules and rebellion. Well, rebellion might be important. Another one of those strange sayings of Jesus, where the disciples said, huh? What? Hate? If we don't hate our mothers and fathers, we can't be disciples? What do you mean by that? That's a disturbing line from that itinerant preacher. He's saying you have to leave home. You have to grow up out of the structure that you were born into. You have to learn in within that structure and then leave it. Maybe. Some people may not have to leave it. But in order to be a disciple of Jesus, in order to walk on the path of mysticism, the path of dramatic spiritual growth, you have to leave home. You have to embark on a strange new journey. There are a lot of stories about that journey. So we're talking about one of them. Wizard of Oz. Erica has put together a book here that's available on the back there. It's got, well, I think 8 sections. Each week it has affirmations, a story, a little metaphysical principle, and some questions to answer, questions for discussion. This week, week 1, we're on week 1, and the topic is I am. Pick up one of these. It costs us about $5 to make it. So would appreciate a donation, but it's a donation. We're providing this for you. And put it in with the offering. There's some traditional unity stuff here. I wrote this almost 40 years ago. A little dated as far as unity stuff goes. And it's based on a youth ministry booklet. So the church that I was in at the time had a big youth ministry program. And they were going to be studying a booklet that the Association of Unity Churches put out called The Metaphysics of Oz. I was like, well, maybe we can have the adults study what the kids are studying. That's where this came from. It's about spiritual path. And the story of Dorothy and her companions on the way to Oz is a classic story. That story is called a monomyth, a story that occurs many, many times throughout history. Cultural anthropologists call it the monomyth, the hero's journey, which Joseph Campbell wrote about. And so there are a lot of stories, a lot of characters that have essentially the same story. Buddha, Jesus, Jonah, Job, Elijah, Ulysses, Odysseus, Dante, Don Quixote, Frodo, Hansel and Gretel, Prodigal Son, and Dorothy and Toto, and others. 4 basic elements to this story. Starts in the upper right. The call to adventure, the journey to become a disciple, the journey to become fully mature, to express the divinity within. There's a call to adventure. It's not an easy journey. There are difficulties that come up. You have to encounter resistance. You have to encounter opposition. The journey requires an encounter of darkness, evil, temptation, and then a dark night of the soul, many different words for the same thing. And in that process, there's a transformation, change in consciousness that leads the hero back home. What happens when the hero gets back home? What happens after enlightenment? Drop wood, carry water. May go back to what appears to be the same life, but with a different attitude, a different appreciation for the ordinary things of life. We're going to spend a couple of months on the Oz version of the story. But we're going to start with what's called the greatest parable, the parable of the prodigal son. It's about a young guy who had to get away. He had to leave home. He could not stay where he was. He had trouble explaining it. He asked his father for his share of the estate, of what he would inherit when his father died. That was outrageous. But he took it and left on his journey of individuation. And he lost all of his money. He ended up tending pigs, that he said, really unclean, one of the worst things that could happen to a good Jewish boy. And it said, Jesus said, and he came to himself. When he came to himself, he thought of home. That if I stayed at my father's, I would have none of these problems. My life there was really good. How could I go back? But I need to go back. And he went back. And then his father heard he was coming and prepared a feast. Prodigal's brother said, "What? How does he get a feast? You know, I've been here all along, and I just get the same old, same old." But it said the father went running out to greet the prodigal. So one of the things that Jesus wanted to teach in this story was the father, tribal warlord, with the tribal war god of the Hebrew Testament, was not relevant anymore because he went running out to welcome his lost son. He was radically inclusive. He was like the incarnation of the Divine Mother, of the radically inclusive, accepting love. So the prodigal came back. His brother probably said, "Who do you think you are?" Well, that's what I was trying to figure out. That's what my journey was. Now, the story, he ended the story there with being welcomed back. Don't know what happened to the prodigal once he came back. Did he stay there with the family? Did he move on somewhere else? He was a different person. He was a person more of who he was created to be. He was the person that was in the light and the love and the glory of the divine. So that's the story. Now, then there's The Wizard of Oz. This was the first movie that I saw as a child. It scared the hell out of me. I had nightmares for a long time. I still get a little when I see the yellow brick road because it was really traumatic for me. I was only, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5. And first movie, it was, still there. So those things that happened to us in the past, they still be there. That doesn't mean that they have to influence, learn to live with them rather than cover them up or pretend they didn't happen. Anyway, we're going to talk about the Tin Man and the Scarecrow and the Cowardly Lion and Toto the dog and the witches and the Munchkins. It really scared me. Yeah, the flying monkey. Yeah. So we all know that story. That story is worldwide. How many? Let's see. There was Wicked, and then there was another Wicked. There was the play and the movie of The Wiz. You know, so and Frank Baum wrote several sequels to this. It wasn't just the first one. Every element of the story points to something within us. Okay, but we can learn some more about ourselves, by opening up to the wisdom of the story and the symbolism. You're starting with Dorothy. Dorothy represents us, our soul. It represents the I am. So in this first lesson about the I am, it's about the spiritual self, the I am within us, the changeless mystery that is somehow seeking to grow and evolve. A lot of names for it. And it's really easy to slip into, well, is the I am the same as the Christ? Is the Christ nature the same as the Buddha nature? Is the self the same as Atman? You don't mix metaphors. These are metaphors for something that is beyond our capacity to express in clear words and understanding. There's an element of mystery to all of it. So we're sticking with the metaphor of I am, and then we also say child of God. So that's what we're using for this theory. It's about the story of the merging soul. What's that about? I mean, each one of these might be considered a prism that takes the light of God and expresses it in a unique way, because each prism is a little bit different. Each prism has been shaped by its environment and its history and its inheritance. Some say that the light of God is seeking to see its own reflection through the light that comes through the prism. Anyway, some say that the I am is already perfect within. Others would say that the I am is growing, evolving in consciousness of itself. So the divine's already there, Awareness is what we're working on our consciousness. Okay, so we proceed on our journey to our own evolution, the emergence of our own spirituality. And we feel an urge to do more, to do something, to extend ourselves. You done that in the past? Have you then run into obstacles on the path? Have to deal with negativity. The negativity that's within us, the negativity that's within shared human consciousness that we experience on life on Earth all the time. We have to deal with that. We can't pretend that it's not there. We can't spiritualize it away. We have to go through, like Dante, going through hell, through the inferno, to come out on the other side, like Jesus and the Buddha encountering the tempter, the resistance, and out on the other side. So, loss and fear and guilt and anger, all of that comes up on the spiritual path. On our way to the promised land, to the New Jerusalem, to the kingdom of heaven, or to Oz, we reach a transformational experience or an insight, have an awakening, and then return home. Oh, it may not be to the actual place that we were born and grew up. I have recurring dreams about trying to find my way through Pittsburgh back to the place where I grew up. I'm getting close, but I missed the bus, or I'm stuck somewhere else. I'm stuck in the downtown. Okay? So there's a shared human theme about coming home. Dorothy wanted to see the wizard because she wanted to get home. We all want to get home. That might be a spiritual place. That might be a place where we reconnect with what we grew up with. There's a lot of psychological work about the human condition, about the life cycle of humanity. Okay? And Shakespeare wrote about it. Greeks wrote about it. We go through a lot of different series, a lot of different steps. That's one of the things that I found interesting reading Richard Rohr and talking about is called Falling Upward. It's about the second half of life, based on Carl Jung's model. That the first half of life, we're building our ego, we're gathering skills and talents to affirm our individuality. And in the second half of life, we're emptying ourselves. We're taking out the things that the ego needed. The ego has become subservient to the self, which is connected with everything. And in some traditions, it's nothing. Some Eastern teachers say, we came from nothing. We return to nothing. We are ultimately nothing, no thing, because we are everything. I go, really? Huh? Well, let me think about that. Let me sit with that for a little while. But I know that now, at this stage of my life, I'm interested in much different things than I was whenever I was younger. I have different values. I'm more interested in peace, connectedness, meaning, making a difference, extending spirit. So here we are in a path, making choices about where we go. Our journey is to be conscious of our path, to be awake to where we are and what we need to do. Be conscious about why we say yes and why we say no. We want to know where we are, who we are, what we are. That's the hero's journey. That's the journey of the mystical path. That's the journey that we are all created for. Even if we stay home like the elder brother, we stay in the tradition, if we stay with the ordinary role. That was not that role. The elder brother was not criticized by Jesus. He honored the fact that the ordinary life, life of the householder, the sacred spiritual path. Some of us are called to do things a little differently. So, where are you on your spiritual path? What is calling you? What have you overcome? What have you realized? What have you awakened to? What's left now? But we're going to spend a little time considering that in meditation. And in preparation for meditation, we're going to sing a Michael Stillwater chant. I am as God created, the light, in the love, in the glory. I am as God created. Let that phrase move through your mind. Am as God created. I, God created. I am created. Be with that statement of where does that lead you? Does that awaken? Am created. Light, love, glory, the light, in the love, in the glory of God. Mind drifts off a little bit. Just let it say, am, or listen to I am being done. Where have you been? Where did the I am take you? Return to that later, maybe today, tomorrow. Spend time with that immortal self that has many names and forms. It is one. Give thanks. Say hallelujah. Where do you go from here? Extend a blessing. Extend the power of love out into the day this afternoon, this evening, tomorrow. Bless the giving of your time and your talent and your dreams, your steps, your words, your thoughts, your touches. Power of love multiplies the goodness. Bless the giving of your time and your talent. And we bless this spiritual community. We have an affirmation about Chesterland Unity. Let's declare that together. Chesterland Unity has a lavish, dependable income, consistent with integrity, mutual benefit. Now blessing our time and our talent and all of our giving about the power, the attitude with which we give together. With joy I give, with gratitude I receive. God's great circle of abundance is completed in me. Now, a word about giving, about the truth about who's giving, where it's going, and where it's coming. I give to the source of my good as the source of my good. I give to God from God. Think about it. Giving from God. Here in this community and all that we do that. Gratefully, expectantly, and then do it. Thank you for your support of this community. I dedicate your gifts to do the work of unconditional love, universal truth, and abundant life. So it is. So, Saturday, 1:00, the movie Heaven is for Real. It's about a Methodist minister whose son and whose little boy had a near-death experience, and then he was talking about it in his church, and he got in trouble for it. His experience was transformational. So it's a really good movie. And next Sunday is the Healing Circle. Don Van Houston is speaking next week. Pick up one of these. And I had an interesting week this week. Was it last Sunday? Sally told me they have an obelisk to donate. Where pointed top. Mystery around it. It was dug up. Nobody knows its real story. But, obelisks represent oneness. Obelisks represent a connection between the heaven and earth. But, well, where should we put it? I've been walking around. Tom suggested a space back in the pines there, kind of up against it, past that Bluebird house. Looks like a really nice place. But we could have the obelisk and some little seating around it to represent oneness, represent our faith. There's only one presence and one power. So we declare oneness. And so that would be a good place to have a faith thing. That got me thinking about, well, what we've talked about and what I've heard has been discussed for decades here, but a labyrinth. Developing the land and putting in a labyrinth. I was pacing off this area here, looking at labyrinths, and a lot of them are made by putting stones in circles or planting in circles, and it's like that would be really hard to mow and maintain. A lot of labyrinths are painted on floors in churches, or they're set in a big concrete. They're set down in the ground so that they're flat. There's a lot of cost involved in preparing a large, flat, firm surface. And I remembered a labyrinth that they painted on the parking lot at Unity Village with wide paths so that wheelchairs and walkers could go around the labyrinth. Always thought that was a neat idea because traditional labyrinths, the paths are about this wide, and you're going and then you turn and then you. We have a wide, flat, hard surface where we can put a labyrinth that's already prepared. It's out beyond the shed. It used to be a parking lot for the ski area, and it's part of the parking lot that was not paved over when the church took it. So that would be a good place. And a labyrinth that would accommodate wheelchairs and walkers, something that's very rare. And I found a design for a labyrinth that's called a reconciliation labyrinth, where there are two paths coming in, and they go around and down and meet in the center. It'd be like a husband and wife reconciliation, bride and groom. Anyway, it's a great idea, coming together. So that's what I've been thinking about. We talked about that at the council meeting today. Like, well, what do we do next? What we do next is say, who wants to help with that? I don't know how to make it, but we can figure it out. So if you would like to be part of that, let me know, and we'll figure it out. The most expensive part of putting in a labyrinth has already been done. The hard, flat surface. We got it. We can put in a good sized labyrinth right on the other side of the shed. Look at it whenever you leave. Okay, so that's okay. We're going to close with by forming a circle. Okay. Next 2 Sundays, Sunday after next, Diana Ripko is going to be here, and if you missed the first class, you still have an opportunity to join in this program of living your potential. That's at 9:30 the Sunday after next. Okay. All right. So now we're going to say the prayer for protection, but we're going to say it connected with each other. Because as we connect with each other, we connect with everyone. We connect with people everywhere. We connect with the people that have come before us, the people that have prayer for protection first. Okay. People that follow us. So is there anybody in particular that you, besides politicians, leaders of of the nation's world, hold them in our heart, feel our connection with them, and declare with them these words of truth. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. Power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Yes, there be peace.